Modi government's war of words with the judiciary over the Collegium system continued today in the Rajya Sabha, with Law Minister Kiren Rijiju flagging concerns about judicial appointments. Mr Rijiju said that the issue of judicial vacancies will linger on until the procedure to appoint judges is changed. He also stressed upon the government's limited role in the appointment of judges. Now, not just that, Mr Rijiju blamed judicial vacancies for the rising pendency of cases across the country. Listen in to that exchange that happened in the Rajya Sabha.
मुझे याद है कि जब हमारी भी सरकार थी और इसके बाद जब ये मोदी जी की सरकार आई तो हम लोगों ने एनजीएससी पास किया था और यूनानिमसली पास किया था, पूरे सदन ने पास किया था। तो मैं पूछना चाह रहा हूं, क्या आप उसको रिवाइव कर रहे हैं? इट्स अ वेरी स्ट्रेट एंड डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन। आर यू प्लानिंग टू रिवाइव दैट बिल टू क्रिएट एनजीएससी?
जहां तक एनजीएससी का सवाल है, मैंने पहले बता दिया कि देश का सोच, सदन का सोच सबने देख लिया और सुप्रीम कोर्ट का 5 मेंबर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेंच ने जो स्ट्राइक डाउन किया, उसके बाद मैं आज इस सदन को बताना चाहता हूं, कई रिटायर्ड जजेस और उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बेंच के सदस्य ने भी सार्वजनिक रूप से कहा है कि उस समय का जो निर्णय हुआ और पार्लियामेंट का यूनानिमसली पास किया वाला एक्ट को खारिज करना ये सही नहीं था।
की मधल्या काळात आपण बघितलं की केंद्र सरकारचे कायदा मंत्री यांनी न्यायवृंदावरती शंका व्यक्त केलेली, म्हणजे न्यायमूर्तींच्या नेमणुकीवरती शंका व्यक्त केली आहे की ही पद्धत अपारदर्शक आहे आणि त्यांना असं म्हणायचं बहुतेक की ही न्यायमूर्तींची नेमणूक सुद्धा पंतप्रधानांनी केली पाहिजे। म्हणजेच काय, साहित्यिक आम्ही म्हणू तेच लिहिलं पाहिजे साहित्यिकांनी, तुम्ही सुद्धा आम्ही म्हणू तेच रिपोर्टिंग केलं पाहिजे आणि एवढंच नाही तर न्याय व्यवस्थेने सुद्धा आम्ही म्हणू तोच न्याय आणि आम्ही म्हणू तोच अन्याय। असं जर का असेल तर मागील दारांनी नाही, मी म्हणतो पुढील दारातनं आणीबाणी घरात आलेली आहे आणि इथपर्यंत जर का आपला देश जाणार असेल तर मग आजच वेळ आहे सगळ्यांनी जागो होऊन ज्यानं त्यांनी ठरवलं पाहिजे की माझ्यावरती आता आणीबाणी कोणी आणू शकणार नाही।
Now, the judiciary has already commented on pendency. 2 weeks ago, Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud had said that the judiciary is overburdened because of the system. And we'll just put out those pictures of the Chief Justice of India on your screens as well. He added, the Chief Justice added, that increasing the number of judges will definitely not solve this perennial problem. So why is the government blaming the judiciary once again? Mr Rijiju's remarks come amidst an already ongoing tussle between the government and the judiciary. The issue in focus is how judicial appointments should be made in India. Currently, judges are appointed by the Collegium system. Under this, 5 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice, decide on the appointments and transfers of judges to the top court and the high courts. What the government wants is judicial appointments to be made through a body. Now, this body will comprise of the Chief Justice, 2 senior Supreme Court judges, the Law Minister and 2 other eminent persons nominated by the Chief Justice, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. The Supreme Court has already made its stand clear. They say the Collegium system is the law of the land. Many see the government's continuous attacks on the Collegium system as an attack on the judiciary. Today, you heard, and you've just heard, from former Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, who is backing the Collegium system. In fact, he's saying that the BJP government is pressurizing the judiciary, and this is not an emergency from the back door. If the government starts appointing judges, then it is emergency from the front door. A quick chat as we try and play pictures of the Chief Justice of India and the Supreme Court as well. That's the request I'm putting to my producers to put those pictures out as well. Aditya Pratap is a lawyer. He's joining us on the broadcast. And Namik Saxena is an advocate. He's joining us on the broadcast as well. Aditya Pratap, I want to ask you what you make of the statements that have been made on the floor of the House, because the question was very pointed to Kiren Rijiju. He didn't give a clear answer.
See, absolutely. Honestly, I feel the entire, when we look at Mr. Kiren Rijiju in circumspect, he appears to be essentially, blowing his own bugle. He has adopted a line of thought and he's sticking to it. He's operating under some notions. It's like he's found one perceived fault with the Collegium system and then he constantly harps on it. It's like if there's no reason, you create a reason and you harp on it. Now, first and foremost, we talk about judicial vacancies and then commission. I say first and foremost that the biggest problem as of now is lack of court infrastructure, for which the government gives a pathetic allocation. So, vacancies will get filled up. The honorable the Collegium does come up with good names. I know of fantastic names which the Collegium came up with, but yet the central government did not approve those names for some reason or the other. Secondly, the issue is that I take the case of the Bombay High Court. Today, Bombay High Court suffers from heavy pendency. The entire court is full. There is not a single vacant courtroom in Bombay High Court, but yet 5 years have passed. Yet till today, there is not one offer of land for the Bombay High Court from the central or the state government. And the central government has the audacity to demand hundreds of crores for a small plot in Mumbai port. So the point is, I feel that this is yet another excuse of the government to essentially tighten its control over the judiciary. I'm pretty sure the government, by its line of thought, has shown that it does not subscribe to the constitutional line of thought in the country, perhaps in one way or the other. And the most important thing is, it is harping on a few factors so as to achieve its larger goal of probably having a stronger leverage with the judiciary.
Namit Saxena, what is the business of the government to tell the Supreme Court how to function, how to appoint judges? Now they are saying you take these vacations, summer vacations like children. If you didn't do that, maybe the pendency would not be so high. Why are you taking up frivolous cases and frivolous PILs? You waste so much time. Obviously, you don't have time for other cases. I mean, is it the government's place, Namit, to be telling the Supreme Court all of this, to tell the judiciary all of this?
See, this basic premise of thinking that the Supreme Court, has some antidote of being immune from criticism is completely incorrect. The Supreme Court of this country is not immune from any fair criticism. And the government, and see who is making this statement, the law minister of the country, isn't he entitled to, to voice his concern over what is the Supreme Court doing? See, this is the same Supreme Court which entertained the Kohinoor Diamond PIL, a PIL on Sardar jokes. Can't this law minister of the country say that, what are you doing? Please don't do this. This is waste of judicial time. So we can't, work on a basic premise that the Supreme Court, just being the Supreme Court, it is final and not infallible. So it is immune from all sorts of criticism. That is incorrect. Secondly, for this debate, see, we have to understand what is the role of the Collegium and what is the role of the government. See, the Collegium is the recommending body. And the government is not supposed to be a simple, but to be a post office for the Collegium to pass it on to the president. The government is under the law, duty bound to conduct a due diligence. Now that due diligence takes time. Now, if you're selecting, the Collegium chooses from a particular loop candidates who don't fit in after due diligence to be fit and suitable to be appointed as judges. And see, judges of constitutional courts is a very, very high, degree of responsibility. And if the government, in its wisdom, after, conducting IB check or whatever processes they follow, it comes to a conclusion that this particular candidate is not fit and suitable to be appointed as a judge of the court, of the Supreme Court or of the High Court. Is the government disentitled from raising its concern? Are we, on this basic premise that just because the Supreme Court has this Collegium, whatever the Collegium does is right? And, Mr. Rijiju made a statement that,
Namit,
one of the members of that judgment, the NJC
what is the fear?
Can I decipher these arguments?
What is the fear? What is the fear? You can, but what is the fear here, Namit? The fear is, and that is something that Uddhav Thackeray has spoken about as well, that if the government has a substantial say in appointing judges, they are stooges then.
No, so that is why I told you. See, the role of the government is not that of a post office. The role of the government is also not substantial to overpower the role of the Collegium. That is not what I'm saying. But there are divisive roles between them. See, the role of the Collegium is to, choose candidates recommended to the government. The government has to then conduct a due diligence, and government would rather fail in its duty if they just become a post office for the Collegium. Collegium passes, you just pass it on to the president, get a warrant, and appoint judges. The government has to conduct due diligence. And why?
In fact,
because the government alone is equipped enough with the agencies under their hand to conduct, the IB check, etc., whatever processes they are.
Well, can I just come in? Now, see, the point is we are
30 seconds, 30 seconds to Aditya.
Perfect. First and foremost, recommendation from the Collegium should be on the same level as the recommendation from the cabinet. Just as the president has to accept cabinet recommendations, same level similarly he should accept the Collegium recommendations. Number two, on the PIL aspect, every citizen of this country has a fundamental right to file a PIL. However, the courts do a yeoman's job at screening them right at the first hearing. In the first hearing itself, frivolous PILs are dismissed and costs are imposed. Third, who are appointed? The government itself does not have a sterling track record. We have seen how many lousy bureaucrats are given repeated extensions by the government, how many retired bureaucrats are continually appointed for 6-7 years. So don't expect the government to do an above board job if it takes charge of judicial appointments. And lastly, let us not forget that the Collegium, being a committee of judges, are best equipped to judge the capability of lawyers who appear before them. In fact, only after observing lawyers who appear before them that the judges recommend some names for judgeship. So judges are far better capable of vetting lawyers rather than the government.
Okay, good to have both of you. It's always good to get the two of you whenever there is a debate that is sparked off by a politician on the Collegium system. Today it was Kiren Rijiju and Uddhav Thackeray. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Shifting on to something, well, you would call it a little frivolous if you wish to.